Learn how to make these delicious banana split muffins that will definitely take you back to your childhood. These muffins are topped with a delicious whipped buttercream and filled with a delicious butterscotch banana filling. Start by adding 50 grams of butter inside a measuring jug. Inside the measuring jug, pour in 180 ml of milk. I recommend using full-fat dairy milk, but you can also use light or trim depending on whatever you have at home. Warm the jug inside the microwave for a minute and a half. This will help warm up the milk and also melt the butter. Give it a little stir and then add in 2 cups of white sugar. Gently stir the mixture, gradually trying to break up the small white sugar granules. By gradually stirring the mixture, this will allow some of the white sugar cubes to break up, and this will give your cupcake mixture a nice smooth consistency. Add 2 teaspoons of vanilla essence. Inside the same bowl, crack in 2 eggs. Grab out a whisk and gently stir the mixture until it's fully incorporated. Once everything has been mixed in, grab out a large bowl and pour your mixture inside. Once the mixture has been poured inside, add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, as well as 1.5 cups of self-raising flour. Stir everything until it's fully mixed in. You might need to switch from a spatula to a whisk just to ensure that everything is mixed. This mixture will be quite runny. This is what we want. We don't want it to be too thick because the thicker it is means that the more flour has been added and it will give more of a dense cupcake. Grab out a 12 case cupcake holder and line it with grease-proof cupcake holders. A trick that I do to make sure that the cupcakes don't stick is I spray a bit of cooking spray on top of the tray before I put the cupcake liners in, just to make sure that they don't stick. There's probably a better way than using a tablespoon to put the cupcake mixture inside the cases, but this is all I had at the moment, so I was just doing it, making sure that I didn't get it on the sides, but clearly I did. You could use an ice cream scoop or an actual cupcake dispenser. It'll make things a lot easier. Once all the batter has been added into the cases, it's time to start making the buttercream. I try to create the buttercream so it would look like the whipped cream that you have on a banana split. So to do that, I'll be using a little bit of white food coloring. If you don't have white food coloring, that's fine. Just make sure that you're whipping your butter for at least 10 minutes. Whipping the butter for this long helps the butter lose some of that yellow coloring that it has, and it gives it more of a whipped and a light colored consistency. Or if you have white food coloring, just add a bit of that in and mix the butter for about 5 minutes. Once your butter has been completely whipped, add in 2 cups of icing sugar, as well as 2 teaspoons of milk. Bake the cupcakes inside the oven for 20 minutes at 180 degrees. I would recommend letting the cupcakes cool on a cooling rack instead of inside the actual trays, but for the video I'll just be leaving them inside the tray just so I can transport them easier. Today I'll be piping the icing onto the cupcake, but if you don't have a piping tip or a piping bag, you can literally just use a Ziploc bag. Fill the Ziploc bag with icing, and then at the corner just cut a little tip so you can actually squeeze out the icing. I'll be filling the cupcakes with a delicious butterscotch banana filling. Unfortunately, I didn't record me making the butterscotch, but I will leave a recipe inside the description if you wanted to fill your cupcakes with this. I would recommend filling the cupcakes with the butterscotch because it just gives so much more flavor and just adds a little bit more to the cupcake. I'm not actually sure what the name of this tool is that I'm using, but it helps me get out the middle of the cupcake and it sort of forms like a little well so I can actually pipe the butterscotch inside. The butterscotch that I'm using has been inside the fridge, so I'm just putting a little bit inside a separate bowl and then putting it inside the microwave for about a minute to soften it up. I added my butterscotch inside a separate piping bag and I'm just cutting off the tip at the very end, just a small bit, so I can easily squeeze in the butterscotch inside the cupcake. Go ahead and generously fill your cupcakes with the butterscotch. I noticed that the butterscotch was getting absorbed into the actual cupcake, so I just went ahead and refilled some of them. I am now grabbing out my whipped buttercream and I'm gently piping that onto each cupcake. The design I'm doing is just a basic swirl. I gently pipe the icing around the cupcake and I sort of add a little bit of pressure to get that sort of smooth look. Once I have piped all the cupcakes with the whipped buttercream, I grab out my butterscotch sauce and I drizzle it on all of the cupcakes. This helps to add a little bit more flavour to the buttercream since it is just vanilla buttercream. And when the cupcakes are left to sit, it sort of firms up and has this nice fudgy consistency. Once I've finished adding the butterscotch on top of the buttercream icing, I'm adding some glazed cherries on top. I'm sure fresh cherries will be better, but unfortunately in New Zealand they're not in season, so I'll just be using glazed. Sprinkle a little bit of hundreds and thousands or confetti sprinkle on top to add a bit of colour and to finish them off. I love how these turned out and they taste absolutely delicious. I love the butterscotch inside the middle, it really adds some flavour to the cupcakes. I'll definitely be making these again. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more recipes, definitely check out my channel and I'll see you in my next video.